do things right.
Hi, I'm Dean Johnson.
And I'm Susanne Egli of the PBS TV series Hometime. Through years of working with home improvement, we've come to know Stanley products and their complete line of residential door systems that meet every construction need.
Today, we're going to replace the old entry door with a new one, the Prodigy Door System from Stanley. The Prodigy Door offers a unique combination of traditional wood-like beauty with the performance of fiberglass reinforced composite materials, materials that outperform wood in energy efficiency, durability, and ease of maintenance.
We'll be showing you the installation of the Prodigy Door System, as well as the steps to achieve a professional-looking stained or painted finish.
Before you begin any home improvement project, make sure you have the right tools for the job. For this door installation, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, a claw hammer, a level, a tape measure, a framing square, a utility knife, a pry bar, a power drill or screw gun with a number 2 Phillips head bit and 1/8 inch drill bit, a caulking gun with a tube of latex caulk, and number 8 3-inch drywall screws. And always remember your protective eyewear.
We need to take off this old door to make way for the new Stanley door. So first, I need to remove this interior trim. We'll be putting this back up once the new door is installed, so we'll remove it as carefully as possible. Before continuing, double check to make sure that the rough opening is the proper size for the door you've purchased. Now you can refer to your installation instructions for the proper rough opening dimensions. Now we just take out the pins from the hinges and take off the door.
Next, we'll remove any screws or nails from the jambs or threshold and lift out the entire framing.
Now make sure the opening is plumb, square, and level. If it isn't, you'll need to realign the opening to achieve this. These conditions are very important for the proper installation and operation of your door.
The new door system has an 1.25 inch threshold height, which will allow for approximately 1 inch clearance over the top of tile, carpet, or other types of floor covering. If 1 inch is an adequate clearance, the entire door system could be installed over the top of a treated spacer like this to allow for proper clearance. Of course, if a spacer like this is used, the rough opening might have to be adjusted on the top.
If your door system is fully assembled, you may have a skid board attached under the threshold. If so, you can remove that now. And if the door doesn't have the threshold attached, you need to install that before going on. The complete installation and finishing instructions, as well as security screws, are stapled to the door. And be sure and leave the pre-hanging clips on the door. These will hold the door aligned and closed during the installation.
Before you set the door in place, you want to caulk along the subfloor to provide a good seal for the threshold. Now, you want to make sure the subfloor is clean of all dirt and old adhesive. Where you apply the caulk depends on the type of threshold you're using. For an aluminum threshold, you want to apply the first bead of caulk at the outside edge of the subfloor. Then, put another bead 1 inch in from the first. This will assure that the threshold legs will hit the caulking when the door is positioned. For oak adjustable thresholds and door systems with side lights, the caulk needs to start a 1/2 inch in from the edge of the subfloor. Now, be generous in applying caulk to assure the proper sealing. If you're installing a door with side lights on concrete, you'll want to use construction adhesive on the edge of the jamb on the active side of the door to help anchor it firmly. Of course, you want to make sure the door is positioned properly and working correctly before the adhesive sets up.
Now we're ready to set this door in position. So first we center the bottom of the unit over the opening and then tilt it into place. Now while I plumb the hinge jamb, Dean can temporarily fasten the door.
I'm using 2 number 8 3-inch drywall screws. These go through the jamb about 2 inches below the top and center hinges.
Now from the inside, I'll shim the unit in place. Notice we're using the tapered shims. These will give us the exact thickness we need for a snug fit. Starting on the hinge jamb, place the shims directly behind all three hinges, in between the jamb and the rough opening. Now move on to the latch jamb. Now on this side, shim on the top and the bottom and where the strike plate will be.
I checked the latch jamb for plumb. Okay, Suzanne, the bottom up toward me a little bit.
How's that?
A little bit more. Okay, that's good. With the latch jamb plumb and square, I can secure it with a couple of drywall screws. These go about 1 inch from the top and bottom of the jamb.
Now on single door systems like this, you don't want to shim above the head jamb. But on door systems with side lights, you want to shim above the joint between the door unit and the side light and secure the area with additional drywall screws.
I'll double check the hinge jamb to make certain that the face and edge are still plumb. Now you may have to remove the temporary screws to make some adjustments. Once you've made those adjustments, replace the screws and then add another screw 2 inches from the bottom hinge. This will help support the jamb once everything's plumb.
Now remove the pre-hanging clips on the door with a claw hammer. Then open and close the door, checking that the clearances are equal along the entire length and width of the door slab. That looks good. Examine the weather strip system on the latch side of the door to see if it has uniform contact with the slab from top to bottom. Now if it doesn't, you can remove one or both of the temporary screws and adjust the latch jamb plumb until uniform contact is made. If your door has a side light, the entire latch jamb side light should be adjusted for uniform contact. And on double doors, adjust the hinge jamb of the inactive door to assure proper contact at the astragal.
The bottom weather strip also needs to be in even contact with the threshold. The clearance between the threshold and the bottom of the door slab should be 3/8 of an inch. If the clearance isn't uniform, you may have to adjust the squareness of the unit to achieve even contact.
Now operate the door again to recheck the clearances and ensure its smooth operation. If everything looks good, you can secure the latch jamb with 2 additional drywall screws spaced evenly between the previously installed screws. How's it looking?
Looks good. Go ahead.
Okay. For a 20-minute smoke and draft rated opening, you must use a pair of number 8 3-inch drywall screws every 16 inches on both the latch and hinge jambs.
These number 10 2¼ inch wood screws come with a Prodigy door. They're the security screws, and they're driven into the hinge through the shim and into the stud behind the jamb. Thanks. But first I'm going to pre-drill 1/8 inch holes for each one of the security screw locations. 2 of these screws will go in the top hinge in the holes closest to the weather strip. And 1 screw will go in each of the remaining hinges in the top hole closest to the weather strip. After pre-drilling, install the security screws.
Now recheck the door's clearances. If they're not uniform, you should adjust the screws to achieve proper clearance. If you have a double door system, you should also install drywall screws at the center of each door's head jamb. And if you have a door system with side lights installed on a wood floor, you need to secure the jamb to the floor where the side light and the door meet.
To prevent moisture penetration into the home, use a high-quality latex caulk to seal up around the exterior frame. Caulk around the entire frame where the brick mold meets the wall, along the exterior nose of the threshold, and if not already done, at the intersection of the jambs and threshold.
Now that we're done with the door assembly, we can cut off these excess shims. With a sharp utility knife, I score each shim deeply and then give it a snap. Well, the only step left on our door assembly is installing the door hardware and replacing the interior trim. But we're going to leave these off until after we finish staining and painting the door unit. That's our next step.
Depending on the look you're after, you can paint or stain your Prodigy door. You can stain it to bring out the deep wood grain appearance, or you can paint it to complement your home's decor and color scheme.
Finishing the Prodigy door is easy. Because of its composite face, the door surface needs no sanding, priming, or surface preparation before painting or staining.
Now be sure to stain the door in an area that's out of the direct sunlight, is dust-free, and well ventilated. And it's not a bad idea to protect the floors with drop cloths from spills and drips.
Before beginning this project, be prepared with the necessary materials. For staining, you'll need 1 quart solid colored linseed oil stain or 1 quart gelled wood stain, lacquer thinner, cheesecloth or clean soft rags, a 3 or 4 inch foam paintbrush, a 3 or 4 inch China bristle paintbrush, and 1 12-ounce spray can of clear exterior grade polyurethane or exterior varnish top coat. For painting, you'll need 1 quart oil or latex base paint, a 3 or 4 inch soft bristle brush, and clean soft rags. Also wear rubber gloves throughout the finishing process to prevent soiling the door with oil from your hands. And always wear safety glasses to protect your eyes.
Well, we'll start by staining this side of the door. Now you notice that we've taken the door off the frame and laid it on the sawhorses. It's going to be a lot easier staining the door while it's flat. And we also padded the sawhorses here to protect the door.
Make sure the door is clean by washing it with a mild household detergent and drying it thoroughly before finishing it. Now, remove the door hardware and mask around the glass and the bottom weather strip to protect them from the finish.
To bring out the rich appearance of the Prodigy door, use only solid color or gelled wood stains. Don't use transparent or semi-transparent stains. Keep in mind that Prodigy's composite surface won't absorb stain like wood, so the actual color you achieve will be somewhat lighter than the manufacturer's color samples.
To achieve the best result from your staining, follow the technique and sequence we'll be showing you.
Stain the panels first. Use a foam brush or cloth and start at the middle of the panel and work the stain out to the edges. You'll have to overlap the stain onto the stiles and rails to ensure the stain penetrates the edges of the panel. When the desired color is achieved, smooth out any excess stain with a dry China bristle brush and periodically wipe the brush on a clean rag to prevent stain buildup. Once a panel has consistent color coverage, move on to the next panel.
If your door has a window, stain the window frame after the panels, using the same staining and smoothing techniques. When the panels and window frame are stained, move on to the inside stiles. Coat any overlap from the panels with fresh stain to make the area workable again. Long brush strokes will provide the best results for applying the stain, followed by shorter, more vigorous strokes for smoothing the stain and eliminating brush marks.
Next, stain the door rails. Always brush following the grain of the door and carefully smooth out the cuts in the grain pattern where the rails meet the inside stiles.
Move on to the top and latch side edge of the door using the same techniques. Then finish up the door surface with the outside stiles.
With this side completely stained, we'll let the door dry according to the stain manufacturer's recommendations.
If you're not pleased with the finish, all or part of the door can be stripped with a lacquer thinner and then restained following the same procedures we just showed you. Once the door is completely dry and the surface is free of dust, you're ready to apply the top coat.
Before you begin, be sure to read the can for complete application instructions and safety precautions. Begin the application at the top left corner of the door and move along the length in nice smooth strokes. Overlap the passes slightly. Spray the top coat as even as possible and avoid spraying too thick, which may cause runs. If you've stained the side and top edges, make sure you spray those also. After you finish the first pass, immediately apply a second coat. This time go across the width of the door. Again, overlap each pass slightly and spray as evenly as possible. When you're finished with the second coat, let the top coat dry according to manufacturer's drying time. Now, the top coat should last 2 to 3 years. If it starts to show signs of wear, apply a fresh coat following the same procedures.
Well, now we're ready to paint the other side of the door. We'll be using an exterior paint since that side of the door will face the outside. But for inside surfaces, you can use either interior or exterior paints.
And again, before painting, make certain the surface is clean and free of all dust.
Start with the panels, brushing on the paint evenly and covering all the corners and grooves. Complete all the panels and window trim before moving on to the flat surfaces of the door. Remember to brush following the direction of the grain. If you're going to be painting both sides of the door, you will also need to paint the side and top edges. Well, now that we're done with this side of the door, we'll let it dry for the recommended time.
The wood frame and brick mold also have to be finished, as well as the astragal if you're working on double doors. Now, this frame was primed. Now I'm just painting it a color to complement the outside of the house.
If the jambs on your door system are primed, they will need to be painted with a high-quality latex or oil paint. Now, if they're clear, they can be painted or stained. But if you plan on painting them, they will need to be primed first. And once the paint is dry, you can replace the hinges, rehang the door, and replace the interior trim. And don't forget to insulate.
We also installed the lock set and deadbolt. The Stanley door came with the appropriate holes already bored for the lock and knob, so the easy part was left to us. If the paint or stain on your door becomes scratched, the surface on a Prodigy door can easily be touched up. Stained areas can be touched up with a wood tone touch-up pencil, or by staining over the scratched area and then reapplying a top coat. For painted areas, simply reapply paint over the scratched area.
With the assembly complete, you can begin to enjoy the benefits of your Prodigy door system, the authentic and handsome look of wood,
with the quality and durability of Stanley products. For Hometime in Stanley, I'm Dean Johnson.
And I'm Susanne Egli.